Hello everyone, and welcome to my official 2023-2024 playoff predictions. I'm going to be giving you my predictions for 2023-2024 Stanley Cup playoffs. Who do I think will win the 8 first-round series, and based on who I think win those series, who do I see going to the Stanley Cup as of right now? We'll go to all that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Internet Talking Channel. Before we get into this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you all for your support, and I'll be able to with all of you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below, and don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below so I can also get in today's video. Now, there are a lot of interesting games that are going to be happening soon. We are starting the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, some of you guys don't know, I'll tell you the playoff picture right now, who's playing who to start the playoffs, and I'll give you my predictions to see who I see going to the Stanley Cup final right now. So in the West, the Dallas Stars won the Central Division and the Western Conference. The Vancouver Canucks won the Pacific Division. So the Stars are going to be taking on the second wildcard team, which will end up being the Vegas Golden Knights. So we have a Stars Golden Knights first round matchup. The Canucks will be taking on the first wildcard team, which will end up being the Nashville Predators. So we've got a Canucks-Predators first round matchup. We also have the Oilers, who are second in the Pacific, taking on the Kings, who are third in the Pacific. And we have the Jets, who are second in the Central, taking on the Avalanche, who are third in the Central. So those are the Western Conference standings. Now on the Eastern Conference, the Rangers won the Metro Division and the Eastern Conference and the President's Trophy. So they're going to be hosting the second wildcard team, which this year wound up being the Washington Capitals. So very good stuff there for the Rangers. The Florida Panthers wound up winning the Atlanta Division. So they're going to be taking on the other Florida team, which are not finishing in the first wildcard position, as the Tampa Bay Lightning. Then second in the Metro in the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll be taking on the third in the Metro, which will be the New York Islanders. And second in the Atlantic, which is the Boston Bruins, will be taking on the third in the Atlantic, which is the Toronto Maple Leafs. So we've got a lot of interesting matchups here to preview. So first, I'm going to be looking at the Eastern Conference, and then we'll go over to the West. So for the East, first, we've got the Capitals and the New York Rangers. Now, this is the President's Trophy winning team versus second wild card. Last year, they didn't work overly well for the Boston Bruins, who won the President's Trophy and lost in 7 to the second wild card team. We'll see if this year is any different. For the Rangers and Capitals, this is going to be an interesting series. This is going to be the 10th all-time matchup between the Capitals and the Rangers. The Rangers have won 5 of the previous 9 matchups, winning in 1986, 1994, and their last 3 matchups in 2012, 2013, and 2015, while the Capitals won in 90, 91, 09, and 11. So they've both been pretty even, but we haven't seen the Rangers-Capitals playoff series since 2015 when the Rangers won. So it'll be interesting to see those two teams go at it again. In my opinion, the Rangers have the better offense, a lot more lethal. The Capitals have a really bad goal differential going into the playoffs. Their goaltending has actually been quite good. Their defense has been decent at times, but their offense has been a real hurt for that team, and I definitely don't expect them to be able to contend with the Rangers' offense. I mean, if you look at their defense, pretty similar, but the Rangers, I think, have more offensive firepower, more defensive firepower with their top 4 of Trouba, Miller, Fox, and Lindgren. So I know that the Caps have a pretty good defense, but I think the Rangers do have a lot better of a defense. Goaltending-wise, once again, give it to the Rangers. Shesterkin, in my opinion, is a way better goalie than Charlie Lindgren. As much as Lindgren has had one fantastic season this year, I don't expect him to be able to keep the Capitals in that series for a whole bunch of time. I expect him to have some pretty good games, but I won't expect him to keep him in there for the entire time. So, in my opinion, I have the Rangers winning this one in 5 games. I think the first round series should be an easy one for the Rangers. I know Capitals were able to scratch and claw their way in, and they're not going to be an easy out, but I think the Rangers have such a talent disparity between them and the Capitals. I think it's very likely that they wind up winning. So I have the Rangers being the Capitals. Going over to the other Metro Division series is the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Islanders. Now, this is going to be the 3rd all-time meeting between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Islanders. Remember, this also includes the Hurricanes and Hartford. The Canes and Islanders have only played 2 times previous to this year. The Carolina Hurricanes won in 2019 in the second round and won last year in the first round. So the Carolina Hurricanes have won both matchups. So Carolina's got that going for them. For the matchups, Carolina NYI offenses, I think the Islanders definitely can't compete with the Carolina Hurricanes offense. I mean, the Carolina Hurricanes have a deep offense, have a fantastic offense, can roll lines 1 through 4 and really outscore the Islanders. Defensively, I think they stack up pretty well, but I do think they'll give the slight edge to Carolina, given the fact Scott Mayfield, who's a really good third-pair defenseman, is currently out right now. So I definitely give the edge to Carolina defensive-wise. Goaltending-wise, definitely to the Islanders. Sorokin is a fantastic goaltender, probably a top 5 goaltender in the league right now. And as much as Anderson's been playing pretty good over the past little while, style. I definitely expect Sorokin to be the better of the two goaltenders, but if you look at both these teams, the Islanders were able to scratch and claw their way in, won 8 of their last 9 games to make it into the playoffs as the third Metro. For the Canes, they've been clicking on all cylinders. The Gensel addition's been fantastic. They've been clicking on all cylinders. In my opinion, I see the Carolina Hurricanes winning that series in 6 games. I think that the Islanders will give them a fight. I think that whichever goalie ends up starting, Sorokin, Varlamov, is a really good goaltender, and they will wind up keeping them in games, but I can't see the Islanders being the Hurricanes. Next, going over to the Battle of Florida as the Panthers and the Maple Leafs. This is going to be the third all-time game between the Panthers and the Lightning. The Lightning have won both of the first series. They won 2021 when the divisions were realigned in the first round. They also won 2022 when the Panthers won the President's Trophy, but then lost in round 2 to Tampa. So Tampa's won both times against Florida. So I think that Tampa does have the edge there. If you look at the team's offense, I think the Panthers have the better offense. I know the Bolts may have the higher level players with Kucherov, Point, Stamkos, but the Panthers have a much deeper offense and can get contributions from a lot of different places. So I think the Panthers have the deeper offense and the better offense. Maybe not the more high-powered players, but the better offense. I think the defense, the Panthers, the way it's looking right now, I think the Panthers have the better defense. If Sergachev is able to get back at some point during the playoffs, I think that really makes it a lot closer. But especially with Sergachev out right now, I think the Panthers definitely have a way better defense. Goaltending-wise, I'd probably give it to the Lightning. Vasilevsky is still Vasilevsky. He's a really good goaltender. He looked shaky last year in the first round, but maybe with a little bit more rest this year, Vasilevsky can look a little bit better this year. But Bobrovsky's actually looked fantastic this year too. No offense to Bobrovsky. I think this is actually a pretty close goalie matchup. I would give the edge slightly to Tampa. But if you look at this series, these two teams are really good. They have a lot of really good matchups. They played each other a couple of times over the past couple of years. But I think the Panthers finally bucked the trend. They wind up winning. I think it's going to be the Panthers in 6 games. Something's just telling me 6. I could easily see this one going to 7. I could even see this possibly going Tampa's way. But in my opinion, I think Florida, with the way they're structured right now, is the better team and will wind up being the Tampa Bay Lightning. And lastly, for the Eastern Conference, going over to the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs. This will be the 17th all-time matchup between the Toronto Maple Leafs and Boston Bruins. Now, they have both won 8 times in their playoff series, but the Bruins have wound up winning the last 6 matchups these two have played, which was back in 69, 72, and 74, as well as their most recent 3 and the 3 that a lot of people remember back in 2013, 2018, and 2019. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up winning this one. If you look at the team's offenses, I'd probably give the edge offense-wise to Toronto. Now, Boston has Pasternak, they have Marchand. Not saying Boston's offense isn't great, as it is, but I do think the Leafs, with all of their additions, do have a little bit more of a deeper offense. So I think that the Leafs have a little bit more of a better offense, complete-wise. If looking at the defense, I think the Bruins definitely have the better defense. Leafs definitely have a couple of good players on defense. Once again, not an awful defense. They have guys like Riley, McCabe, Brody, Liljegren. Not a bad defense, but I think the Bruins defense with guys like McAvoy, Lindholm, as well as a couple of other guys, Carlo, is a much better defense than the Leafs. So I definitely give the defensive edge to Boston. Goaltending wise, I have to give it to the Bruins. I mean, you have Ullmark, you have Swayman. Those are 2 really good goaltenders. You can start either one of those goaltenders, and I think they'd be in a much better position than the Leafs are with Woll or Samsonov. Not saying Woll or Samsonov are not good goaltenders, but I think they're just in a much better position. So I will give the goaltending and the defensive edge to the Bruins, but in my opinion, this is going to be a tight series. This is going to be a close series. I think these two teams match up really well. As much as the Bruins have the edge on the Leafs in the years past, I do think this is actually going to be a really tight series. And as much as the Bruins, they wind up finishing the higher seed, I am going to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs in 7. Not saying that the Bruins can't win. This is a series that I think could go either way, and I could definitely see the Bruins wind up winning, but I think that the Leafs, after exercising last year's demons by beating Tampa, finally winning a series for the first time in 19 years, I think there's a very likely chance they could finally buck another trend, and that is finally beating the Boston Bruins in the playoff series in the 21st century. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens, but in my opinion, those are my predictions for the East. For the first round, I have the Rangers in 5, the Carolina Hurricanes in 6, and the Panthers in 6, and the Leafs in 7. So those are my predictions there. Going over to round 2 quickly for the East, you have the Carolina Hurricanes taking on New York Rangers. These two are interesting matchup. The Hurricanes, I think, potentially, have the better offense. Both of those offenses stack up really well against each other. The defenses stack up really well against each other, although I would give the edge in the defensive end to the Rangers. Goaltending-wise, once again, Rangers, Shesterkin's a much better goaltender, I think, than Anderson. But if I were to pick a winner, I would say Carolina Hurricanes in 6. I think the Rangers are a good team, as shown by them being able to win the President's Trophy. I think they're a fantastic team, but I don't see them, A, getting by the Carolina Hurricanes with the way the Hurricanes are playing right now, and B, I'm a believer of the President's Trophy curse. series. I don't think if you win the President's Trophy, you can get higher than like the conference final at the very most. So I think the President's Trophy curse bites the Rangers in the butt, and they do wind up losing in the round 2. So I think that's a possibility. Going over to the other Eastern Conference second round matchup between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers. Now this is going to be another interesting matchup. If you look at their offenses, I'll probably give the offense edge to the Panthers. Much more of a deeper team than the Leafs, just slightly, but definitely a little bit more. Defensive wise, once again, Panthers edge. They have much more complete defense than the Leafs do. Goaltending wise, I'll give a slight edge to the Panthers. Bobrovsky's a good goaltender. I think he's a little more battle tested in the playoffs than guys like Woll or Samsonov, so that's interesting. But in a 7-game series, I would definitely actually pick the Leafs in 7. It will be a hard series. It'll be a really good battle series, but I think after 2 really good long grueling series in round 1, I would say the Leafs will end up coming out in round 2. Just I have this gut feeling the Leafs are going to be able to kill another demon after losing to Florida in the second round last year. So I think the Leafs and Carolina Hurricanes will make our Eastern Conference final. Going over to the Western Conference side now. Now first in the Western Conference playoff picture, we're going to be looking at the Dallas Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights. Stars won the Western Conference. They're taking on this year's second wildcard team in the Vegas Golden Knights, which are the defending Stanley Cup champs. Now this is an interesting series. This is going to be the third time that these two teams have faced off against each other. The first time was back in the bubble when the Stars won in the conference final to go to the Cup final. The second one was last year when the Knights won the conference final to go to the Cup final. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins this year in round 1. So both teams have won once in their playoff series history, so it'll be interesting to see who wins the game 3 and who takes the series lead in the playoffs. So for these teams, offensively, I'll probably give the edge to the Dallas Stars. I mean, the offense of the Dallas Stars have right now, top to bottom, is fantastic, especially if Mark Stone's out for the first few games of the playoffs. I definitely think the Stars have a much deeper and much better offense than the Golden Knights. If Stone gets back, it's a real toss-up as to who has the better offense. Defensively, I would say the Knights have the better defense. I mean, if Pietrangelo is able to be healthy, which I think he will be, that defense now that has Hanifin on it is extremely scary. As much as the Stars have a fantastic blue one with guys like Kaskinen and Lindell, it's just not going to cut it against an extremely good Vegas Golden Knights defense. Goaltending wise, you gotta give it to Dallas. Andre, I think, is a much better goaltender than Aiden Hill or Logan Thompson, so I'll definitely give the edge in net to Dallas. But if I had to pick a team to win, this will be a tight series. It's a toss-up series. I could see either team winning this one. It's going to be an extremely tight series. I see Dallas in 7. I think Dallas exercises their demons, and after losing in the conference final last year at Vegas, I say down the defending Stanley Cup champs in round 1. So it'll be interesting to see, but I see Dallas taking it in round 1. In the other Western Conference Central Division matchup, you have the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Winnipeg Jets for the first time in playoff history. So since the Atlanta Thrashers and Winnipeg Jets were constructed, the Colorado Avalanche and Winnipeg Jets have never played in a playoff series, so this is going to be the first time, so it'll be interesting to see who wins. Offensively, I want to say the Avalanche have a little bit of a better offense, given they have the better offensive weapons than Rantanen and McKinnon, but I think the Jets may have a slightly bit better, deeper offense. I think the Jets 1 through 4 can have a little bit of a deeper lineup than the Avalanche do, so it's a real toss-up. I'll give the Avalanche the edge offensively just because of their star power, but it's a real close matchup. If you look at it defensively, Avalanche for sure have the better defense. I think that Jets have a pretty good defense with guys like Morrissey, Pionk, DeMello, but I think the Avalanche have 3 extremely good deep pairs on their blue line, so I would definitely give the edge on the defensive end to Colorado. Goaltending wise, for sure it's Winnipeg. Georgiev's looked shaky over the past little while. I think he's been started too much. I do wonder if that could be a contributing factor to this series. Well, I think Hellebuyck has looked fantastic. Over the past couple of weeks, he wound up winning the William M. Jennings Trophy, and he's looked fantastic, so I would definitely think that Hellebuyck is the better of the 2 goaltenders. I'll give the edge in the goal to Winnipeg. So, in my opinion, this is going to be another close series, another one that can go either way. I could see this go Winnipeg's way, I could see this go Colorado's way. But in my opinion, I do think that with the way the series has gone, and also with the way the Jets are playing right now, entering the playoffs, I have the Jets winning in 7 games. I think the Jets are going to have their work cut out for them, but I think Hellebuyck and the Jets should be able to slightly get by the Avalanche. I think Georgiev being leaky over past a while might be a problem for that team if they wanted to try and make the second round. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I have the Jets winning in 7. Then you have the Canucks and the Nashville Predators. Now, Canucks won the Pacific Division. Preds were first wildcard team, so this is another matchup. This is going to be the second all-time matchup between the Canucks and the Predators. The only other time these two teams have played was when the Canucks went to their 3rd Cup final back in 2011 against the Boston Bruins. They wound up beating the Predators in round 2, so that was a really good matchup. That was the only time the Canucks and Predators have played, so we'll see if the Canucks are able to remain undefeated against the Predators in the playoffs. So offensively, Canucks way better offense. I mean, the Preds have some really good offensive weapons. Forsberg, Nyquist has been really good this year. Novak. They have some very good players on the offensive side, but they're really a one-line team with Forsberg, Nyquist, and O'Reilly. And if the Canucks are able to shut down the offensive line, Canucks have a way better team, in my opinion. Top to bottom, Canucks have better offense. Defensively, I'll probably give the slight edge to Nashville. They have guys like Yossi, McDonough. They have guys who know how to win, so I definitely think the Nashville Predators do have the better top to bottom defense, but I think the Canucks have a pretty good defense too. Goaltending wise, this is really a split. Demko, Saros, both of these goalies are extremely good top 10 goaltenders in the NHL this year. I'll probably give the extremely slight edge to Nashville goaltender, just given the fact of how good Saros is, but that's no offense to Demko, and I think that's more of a toss-up in goal as to who has the edge. So this will be a tight series. This will be an interesting series. I might be a little bit wrong for picking this, but I have the Canucks winning in 5 games. I think the Predators might be able to squeeze one more win out of it, make it a 6-game series, but in my opinion, I think the Canucks have a much better team, and they should definitely be able to make the second round. So I have the Canucks winning in 5 games. And the last first-round matchup is between the Edmonton Oilers and the LA Kings. Those are their second and third teams in the Pacific Division, the third straight year that we have an Oilers-Kings first-round matchup. This is going to be the 10th all-time matchup between the Oilers and the Kings. So far, the Oilers have won 7 of their previous 9 meetings, including their last 5 back in 1990, 1991, and 1992, as well as the last 2 years in 2022 and 2023. So this is going to be an uphill battle right now for the LA Kings, but the Oilers have definitely had their number. If you look at their offenses, I think the Oilers have to give the offensive edge to. I mean, they have McDavid and Draisaitl, which are 2 of the best offensive players in the league right now, so I can't really bet against their offense, but the Kings have a pretty deep offense in my opinion, maybe a little bit deeper than the Oilers, but the Oilers have much more firepower. On the defensive end, it's a toss-up. I think with the Oilers having guys like Bouchard and Ekholm, I'll give them a slight edge on the defensive end, but both teams don't have an overly great defense. Goaltending wise, I will give the slight edge once again to Edmonton, given the fact they have Skinner. Talbot's been up and down this year, so I'll definitely say Skinner's maybe the little bit more of a stable goaltender, but this is going to be an interesting series. The Kings have played the Oilers extremely hard the past 2 years. 2 years ago, they sent into a Game 7 where they lost. Last year, they were up 2-1 in the series before they wound up losing 3 straight in close and tightly contested fashion, so I think this is going to be an interesting series again. The Oilers seem to somehow find trouble against the LA Kings, and this year, I finally have the LA Kings getting their revenge and ripping off the Band-Aid. I mean, this is fantastic for the Kings if this does happen, but I have the Kings winning 7 games. I mean, this is going to be a surprise for some people. This is no offense to the Edmonton Oilers. I think this could easily go the Oilers' way too, but the Kings, I said this before the season started. I made this prediction. I did say the Oilers would play the Kings in the first round, which is the only matchup of the 8 I predicted before the season started to actually wind up going through. I said the Oilers cannot draw the Kings in the first round because this year they went out to find ways to beat the Oilers. That's literally what they did in this offseason. They got Pierre-Luc Dubois to beat the Oilers. They got Cam Talbot and net familiarity with the Oilers to beat the Oilers. So I think this Kings team right now, they made their moves in the offseason and at the deadline to beat the Oilers. And I think as much as the Oilers are a really good team and I could easily see them win this series, I'm going to say the Kings pull off the upset and win in 7 games. So that's my prediction. So in the second round matchup, you'd have the Stars take on the Jets, the Canucks take on the Kings. If you have the Stars and the Jets offensively, both teams really stack up really well against each other. I'll give the slight edge to Dallas because I think they have a tiny bit of a deeper team. Defensively, I think the Stars also have a slight edge given the fact that they have a little bit more of depth on the blue line too. Goaltending wise, Hellebuyck I think is a slight better goaltender than Onger. Not too much, but I think Hellebuyck's definitely the better of the 2 goalies. And so if I had to pick one, I would say Jets up and the Stars in 7. It'll take a long series. Both teams will be coming off of extremely long series in round 1, but I do think that the Jets will have what it takes, especially with Hellebuyck and net, to go to the Conference Final. As for the Canucks and Kings series, if you look at their offense, I think the Canucks may have a slight edge offensively, but both teams have extremely potent offenses. Defensively, I would say that the Canucks have a slight edge on the defensive end. Kings, I think, have a pretty good defense too, and I think both are interchangeable. Goaltending wise, though, it's hands down Demko's a lot better of a goaltender than Talbot, so I'll give the goaltending edge right to Vancouver. And in my opinion, I think that would be a really tight series. Kings have played the Canucks well this year in the regular season, but I think playoffs are a little bit different. I think the Canucks will be able to have a little bit of an easier first round series, and because of that, I think they'll be able to be a little more rested, a little more healthy for round 2, and I do think they'll be able to beat the LA Kings in 6 games. I know a lot of people might not agree with that, but I do have the Canucks winning in 6 games. So my conference final predictions are currently the Canucks taking on the Winnipeg Jets, and the Leafs taking on the Hurricanes. So let's go over to the East again for 1 minute. So Leafs Hurricanes, I think I'll give the edge on the forward group to the Leafs. I think they have a little more of a potent offense than the Hurricanes, but both those offenses are really good. Defensively, I would say that the Hurricanes have a much better defense than the Leafs do with guys like Slavin, Burns, Orlov. And on the goaltending side, both goalies are really good. I'll give a slight edge to Frederik Andersen over Joseph Woll or Ilya Samsonov in net, but I do think it's very slight. So I think those two teams stack up pretty well against each other. I would say the Carolina Hurricanes win in 6 games. The Carolina Hurricanes will go into their first Stanley Cup, if I'm correct, since 2006. Meanwhile, in the Western Conference, we have the Jets and Canucks Conference Final, which means the Canadian team will make it to the Cup Final this year if my predictions go correctly. Probably won't, but still. And in the Winnipeg Jets Canucks series, offensively, I think the Jets have a little bit of a better offense. Defensively, once again, a little bit of a better defense. Goaltending wise, both goalies are really good. I give the slight edge to Hellebuck, just a tiny bit over Demko, but I think both goalies are really good. And in the 7-game series, I'm going to pick the Winnipeg Jets to win in 7 games. It's going to be an interesting series. It'll be a tight back and forth series. Both those teams are pretty much surprises this year for a lot of people, but I think the Winnipeg Jets will be able to narrowly come away with a win. So that would leave a Stanley Cup final of the Winnipeg Jets and the Carolina Hurricanes. If you look at their offenses, I would give the slight edge in the offensive side to Carolina. I think they have a little bit more of a potent offense. Defensively, probably a little bit of a slight edge in the defensive end to the Carolina Hurricanes. And in net, I think Hellebuck could definitely be the better goaltender than Anderson. Both are really good goaltenders, but Hellebuck's still definitely the better in my opinion. So in my opinion, that'll be a really good series. It'll be a long series. And I have the Winnipeg Jets winning their first ever Stanley Cup. I think it'll be a really close series. I'll say it in 6 games. I could easily see the Carolina Hurricanes win that sort of a series, depending on how bruised and battered both teams are. But I had the Winnipeg Jets coming out as their first ever Stanley Cup, in my opinion. So that's just my predictions. I'd love to hear your guys' predictions on this. I know I probably got some of these wrong. Last year, I think I got 5 or 4 of the first round series correctly. I know I got all the Western Conference ones. I predicted the Kraken to surprise and beat the Avalanche. I predicted the Edmonton Oilers to beat the Kings in round 1. I predicted the Golden Knights to wind up beating the Winnipeg Jets in round 1. I did say the Stars would beat the Wild, so I definitely got a couple of them wrong. I didn't expect Florida to beat Boston, or I didn't expect the Devils to beat the Rangers, so there were definitely a couple of them that I wasn't expecting that did wind up happening. There's always a couple of surprises, so don't be overly surprised if there's a couple of upsets, and in my opinion, my biggest upsets for the first round this year would be the LA Kings beating the Oilers, Leafs beating the Bruins, and Jets beating the Avalanche. So that's my predictions, though. I'd love to hear your guys' predictions on this down in the comment section below, and what do you think of my predictions? Do you agree with any of my predictions that I've made for the first round, or that I have for the second, third, or fourth round? And could you see a Winnipeg-Carolina final in which the Winnipeg Jets win the first ever Stanley Cup? Definitely. I'll have to hear your guys' thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. So I'm going to talk about for today. We're going to like this video. If you're liking, subscribe down below. Thank you all for your support, and then we'll do with you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below, and don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below so I can all discuss today's video. I also have a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So if you check that out, leave a link down in the description below. And I can't wait to see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.